Cases of adults shutting themselves away from the outside world for months, even years, are beginning to surface and grow across Singapore. Social service agencies say these so-called hidden adults range from age 21 to well into their 40s. Unlike hidden youth, they face a different set of triggers and pressures. Our senior reporter Alif Amshar has been looking into this emerging issue, and he joins us now in studio. Alif, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Angela.
Now, first of all, we know it's hidden adults. So how did you even hear about this phenomenon to begin with?
Well, Angela, actually it was a case of chance. Earlier on, I was working on a report of hidden missing youths. And during that time, some agencies told me that they were also seeing more reports of youths isolating themselves. But during those discussions, what stood out to me was that they were also seeing more cases of adults who isolate themselves. So I started my investigation and I spoke to a huge number of agencies actually. And for example, Fei here, they have helped about 40 cases of hidden adults. And when they first started looking at such cases proper in 2024, there were about 20 cases. And for another organization, Touch, it received about 250 inquiries last year about hidden individuals, and that's more than twice than in 2022. And among them are hidden adult cases, which it says has also gone up. And Angela, you can imagine how difficult it is to speak to hidden adults. But my investigation wouldn't be complete if I didn't hear their side of the story. So let's have a listen. I'm on the way to meet Brian Wong, a social worker from Fei Yue Community Services. He's part of a team supporting hidden adults and ensure that even though they choose to be alone, they're not completely lonely. And because reaching them is a delicate dance, Brian is helping me speak to one today. His name is David, and he'll only talk through text. Brian, thanks for joining me today. The first question I have for David is, why did he become reclusive in the first place?
Okay, thank you for your question. Let me check with David about it. Hey, Alif, so David actually replied. His answer is this. He said that I think the biggest factor that led me to be more reclusive would be a mix of depression and anxiety. And the anxiety caused him to be fearful of attempting new things as he did not want to make any mistakes. When he feels overwhelmed by such feelings, he ends up choosing to do nothing to protect himself from making any wrong decisions. And his choice to be reclusive was actually the safest decision for him.
Brian tells me David made progress after landing a job following years of isolation, but anxiety never left him.
Brian, I understand that David quit a few months ago. Could you ask him what challenges he's facing right now?
He said that he feels like he has went back to square one. He still does not know what he really wants to do in life, and he feels like he has no purpose. He said that it takes a lot out of him to find some things to do, like pursuing his interests or looking for other jobs, as he often feels a lack of motivation.
David says meeting with Brian once a month in person for counselling gives him a reason to leave home. When asked what kind of help would bring him out of isolation, David says he's already in good hands. For others though, he says it starts with simply knowing they're not alone. And because everyone's story is different, programs should be built around interests or skills so that reclusive adults have reasons to step back out. David is far from alone in choosing self-imposed exile. Jake, who's in his 30s, the retreat was driven by relentless bullying all his life. The trauma derailed his education, shattered his ambitions, and left video games as his only escape.
There was that sense of anger. It was small at first, but it sort of grew over time, just like how a cup is being filled with water until it has reached a boiling point. It's like one drop away from being overflowed, and when it did, my anger was unleashed and I lashed out at my parents.
Then came the spiral into isolation. But even at his lowest, his parents refused to give up on him. They cared for him and gave every bit of support, including when Jake wanted another chance at his studies. That became a crucial turning point, and today, things are looking up.
I've made some great progress. Nowadays, whenever I only play like maybe single player games, maybe barely even 5 to 15 minutes per episode, and then afterwards I would spend another 1-2 hours, 3 hours maybe in writing my notes and studying. because that I realized I know that there's this greater dream that I have that I really want to see. I would say that in the end, my family never really gave up on me. As a result, my core beliefs weren't completely shattered. Because of that, I felt the need to continue on.
Now, Aleph, you managed to speak to both David and Jake, but do all hidden adults exhibit the same behaviors and also coping mechanisms?
Well, Angela, experts agree that while there is no clinical definition yet, they use a threshold of 3 to 6 months of isolation to classify someone as a hidden adult or a hidden youth. We also know that such individuals, they exist on a spectrum. So on one end, there are those who occasionally leave home only for essential activities like buying groceries. In the middle, there are those who rarely leave their home. They rely on the parents for meals, for example. And on the extreme end are those who are completely isolated and invincible. But one key difference is that hidden adults, they tend to mask their condition. So let's have a listen.
Sometimes we are seeing them out there, but they might not be seen as socially withdrawn, but they are definitely at a high tendency of want to withdraw, but then because of the society needs them to work, the parents want them to work or want them to study, we will have them out there and we don't know.
Aleph, we've been hearing about hidden youths nowadays, but what is the difference between a hidden youth and a hidden adult?
Certainly, as you pointed out, there are reports of hidden youths online now. Those for hidden youths, the triggers are usually school-related stress or family conflicts during adolescence time. But for hidden adults, it's things like workplace burnout or career failure, or they choose to withdraw from society because of things like divorce. There's also the inability to meet societal expectations for adults. For some, it's also youth trauma that is unresolved. For example, like we heard from Jake, it's being bullied from a young age. But there are some similarities or links between hidden adults and hidden youths as well. From some of the social workers I spoke to, they say that some of the youths they know grew up or aged up to become hidden adults as well. So let's have a listen.
It's a snowball effect. It actually grows into adulthood. And when you go into adulthood and when you're a young adult, whether you're in university or when you're working, what actually happens if there is one onset of any incident, they can always reflect. They can always spiral down.
Many of these hidden youth or hidden adult do have associated psychiatric conditions like social anxiety, depression. Some of them may have autistic trait, and all this tend to drive the individual to be more comfortable, to be socially withdrawn.
Angela, if there's no intervention, there could also be impact on society as well. Adults can become isolated later in life. Already we are seeing some cases in their 40s or even older, and that brings its own set of problems. For example, lonely deaths that we've seen in Singapore. There's also pressure on aging parents. You can imagine some of them are already in their 50s, in their 60s.
Yeah, so it's an issue that really needs to be addressed early in this sense. So what are the agencies that you've been speaking to? What are they doing about this issue?
Well, the toughest or the biggest question in this issue is where to even find those hidden adults. And that really is something that agencies are struggling with. They rely on referrals from families and friends to even find such individuals. But some organizations are looking at creative methods. They are going to spaces where they think hidden adults are most at ease. So let's listen to this story.
Most people play for fun, but behind this avatar is a social worker on duty. She's playing alongside hidden adults to build rapport with them in online open world games, which are spaces they feel most at ease.
It's about being consistent in journeying with them, and at the end of the day, our end goal is to be able to bring them out of this isolation.
I caught up with Stephanie again, and she tells me that because hidden adults rarely step out, the team casts its net wide through online streaming of games on platforms like Twitch in the hopes of reaching out to more. But mostly, the social service agency relies heavily on referrals. Wigos provides worried families with an invite link to Sanctum, a private group on Discord, which is a popular online chat app where gamers typically gather. Here, they can find other gaming buddies, look for more games to play, chat, and slowly lower their guard. Once a referred hidden adult accepts the link, they complete a short screening like this. This allows social workers to verify and assess their level of isolation for follow-up.
Do they find meaning in like the idea of work, for example? Do they have like any difficulties like getting along with people? That only reflects a lot about more of like how much or how willing they might be to step out of their house, or like whether or not they choose to be more isolated.
When they spot someone who's likely a hidden adult, the real work begins via direct messages or DMs.
Me and my team will actually go and approach and follow up with this used individual on DM. So at the end of the day, if they have anything that they want to talk to us about, whether is it their friendship problems, their family problems and whatnot, everything they can like come to us and share.
Sometimes, the team may coax hidden adults out for a meal or for voice chats to follow up. The approach also differs for adults.
Some of their interests may be different. The hours may also be different. Hidden adults may be active at any time, but some of the hidden youth may be active more towards the night sometimes. Topics could be more towards future, towards hopelessness about their situation, rather than superficial topic like maybe the anime that they like.
The whole process takes time, but Wigos says for hidden adults ready to step outside, it will help them practice for interviews and explore new job opportunities.
Angela, from my research, caregivers too play a crucial role. They're often the first to spot signs. They're also usually the last or the final bridge between the hidden adult and the real world. So there are some agencies that are putting in efforts to really boost support for caregivers and parents. Let's take a look.
Parents, no matter we still love him. We have always been loving him, all those things. Wish him all the best that he can walk out of his room, walk out of the house, get back into society.
Mr. and Mrs. Tan are taking a great risk talking to me because their 24-year-old son has no idea his parents are speaking to the media. But they're sharing their story to let other struggling families know they're not alone. This photo album holds precious memories of happier times, especially when the last 2 years have been an agony watching their son slip away. The signs were gradual. What began as university burnout spiraled into anxiety until he dropped out, isolating himself in the bedroom.
Every time we want to engage him, we have to knock on the door, wait for him to reply, and then usually it will be, no, I don't want to do it, or things like that. Otherwise, it's very non-responsive. Of course, we are very worried and anxious about all this because if he's staying at home, we don't know what his future is going to be like.
他的房间也会很乱，因为他很少打扫。 所以，包括有一些吃过的食物的一些，残渣呀或者袋子啊，包括一些碗都会放在他的房间。然后我们也很担心会长一些虫子。然后他自己有时候也很久才冲凉，有时候会闻到他身上会有一股味道。
For a long time, they carried the burden alone, until they sought advice from Fei Yue Community Services. Social workers suggested an unexpected solution, adopting a pet.
Get a dog, and then now our son is taking care of the dog, and I think he's kind of regulate his lifestyle already. So he's waking up early. Nowadays, it's like his door is open already. So because the dog also wants to go in, likes him a lot, wants to go into his room. So especially the whole family taking care of the dog. So there's it really helps.
我们也改变了一些家庭的一些习惯吧，就是我们开始去。 经常带着他们一起出去吃饭啊，或者是去一些地方走一走，然后还有时候会做一些家庭的一些小活动，比如说玩一些游戏，然后他有的时候心情好的时候会参加我们。
For around 15 other families, there are also monthly support group sessions.
They will learn not to ask too many questions, because often asking questions can cause stress or pressure on the child to need to reply. They also learn how to show care and concern, that when they approach their child, it's not about getting them out of the house, but it's about showing that they are available.
For now, the agency's mental health team is overseeing these efforts and hope to form a dedicated team for hidden adults in future. It says more resources will mean more hands to bring new hope to hidden adults and for their families waiting on the other side of the door.
As we can see, it takes a really big toll on loved ones, especially the families. So what more can all of us do to help, really?
Well, Angela, as it stands, local research and data remains limited. No national study has established the true scale of the issue in Singapore as of yet. This is compared to the amount of information that we have in, say, Japan and other societies as well. In Japan, 1.4 million isolated adults live in reclusion. If we look further from home, in Italy, about 100,000 cases have also been documented.
And looking at the consequences further down, especially given the aging population, would you say early intervention is actually quite crucial here?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Early intervention is the key here. If a caregiver or a parent spots signs, I think they don't have to wait 3 to 6 months. Early intervention is always a good solution. As more adults retreat into isolation, the challenge now is reaching them before it becomes permanent as well.
Alif, thank you so much for shedding a light on this issue. I've been chatting with Alif Amshar on the hidden adults in Singapore.